My channel is specifically dedicated to helping men. I'm sure every one of you has been in that awful place, that swamp, after you've been betrayed or deceived. You're still hung up on an ex, suffering, wanting to get her back somehow. You feel terrible, sad, resentful, and all those kinds of emotions. That's why today's video topic, which is a major concern for most men, is how to stop agonizing over an ex and get rid of that pain that's eating you up inside. For a lot of guys, a breakup is incredibly painful. The thoughts just won't leave you alone. You think about the person, sometimes remembering the good, sometimes the bad. You replay certain moments in your head, thinking, what if I had done this differently? What if I had said that? And so on. All of this just consumes you from the inside. Many people interpret these thoughts, these attempts by the brain to return to an ex, even just in your mind, as a sign of love. A man might remember her for years and think, this must be a once-in-a-lifetime love I'll never find again. But that's not true. These are just illusions and fantasies you've created in your own head. In reality, this effect is caused by your brain experiencing stress from the loss of a familiar source of pleasure. It always strives with all its might to get it back, or find a replacement. In most cases, this situation simply means that she, your ex, was in a stronger position in the relationship by the time you broke up and naturally held higher value in your eyes. And you, of course, were the opposite. Your ex was one of the few sources of pleasure in your life, and now your brain is looking for the easiest possible replacement, like tasty food, alcohol, or getting back together, to satisfy this endorphin hunger in the least energy-consuming way. First, you need to understand why you're suffering. Let's be honest. You're suffering because you made a mistake with the balance of importance in that relationship. This woman started to take up way too much space in your life, and losing her created a void that your brain is now desperately trying to fill, no matter the cost. This happened because you invested yourself emotionally in that relationship far more than in any other area of your life. That's why you're suffering. And usually, it's precisely this imbalance that is the real reason for the breakup and why the woman leaves. She leaves at the very moment you become overly emotionally dependent on her. That's why you're experiencing all of this so painfully. You were counting on emotional support and closeness from your woman, and she suddenly leaves. She betrays you. Just like that, she's gone. So now, I want to tell you about the biggest mistakes people make after a breakup. And I'm telling you, don't you dare make them after a woman has left you. Don't you dare. The first, and by far the most common mistake, is trying to numb these feelings by jumping into a new relationship. If you rush into a new relationship right after a breakup, you won't have any time to actually process what happened and fix your own mistakes, issues with your self-worth, how you react to manipulation, and so on. You won't have a chance to work on any of that. And the end of that new relationship you just started will most likely be exactly the same as the one with your ex. It'll just bring you a fresh wave of suffering. Your second mistake could be trying to get your ex-girlfriend back. This is an extremely common error, and one you should absolutely avoid. Yes, it's sometimes possible to get an ex back if you do it strategically. But again, resurrecting a dead relationship rarely leads to anything good. Usually, when you try to win her back without having fixed your own mistakes, you're just trying to temporarily plug that hole in your soul. This will lead to exactly the same outcome. She will leave you again. Put bluntly, if the root causes of the breakup haven't been addressed, it doesn't matter how many times you reconcile, you will never build a healthy, happy relationship from it. Men also make a very serious mistake: stalking their ex. The guy turns into a walking detective. I think it's obvious to everyone that this brings nothing but extra pain and slows down the healing of the wound on your heart. Yet, for some reason, when guys find themselves in this situation, they constantly try to keep tabs on their exes on social media. They casually try to find out about her through mutual acquaintances, friends, colleagues, and so on. They're constantly trying to stay interested in her life. And typically, what they find out is that she's getting a powerful emotional charge from some other man, and they see her happy face. This just makes him fall into an even deeper depression, and it hurts even more. Resisting your brain's craving for that source of endorphins is pretty difficult, and always requires a lot of willpower, energy that isn't infinite. There are ways to deal with this without putting yourself through that kind of torture. So, you don't need to be a detective constantly tracking her. The fourth very common mistake is to silently stew over all your pent-up emotions. If you try to suppress your emotions, it always backfires. Unprocessed emotions build up into stress, which damages both your well-being and your physical health. So, you're only destroying yourself. The same goes for trying to drown your pain in alcohol or constant partying. It's like treating a broken arm with painkillers. Sure, at first it doesn't hurt, but when the painkiller wears off, the pain will be even worse, and the underlying problem will still be there. You haven't solved it at the root. When you're alone with yourself, you'll just keep going back to those memories and upsetting yourself even more. So, what should you do to make the pain stop? I've put together a few of the most effective and truly practical ways to do this without professional help. There are really only two that will genuinely help you break free and start living a full life again. The first method is to deliberately shift your focus to personal development. This will serve as a simple and fast source of pleasure that, unlike drowning your sorrows in food or alcohol, will actually be hugely beneficial for you. It satisfies that same craving for pleasure, but then it goes further. It creates positive emotional reinforcement that actually removes the pain. Put simply, the successes you'll observe in your own growth will bring you a sense of joy that overshadows the suffering. Over time, this will rebalance the different areas of your life. This not only prevents the same problem from happening again in the future, but also stops you from tipping the balance of importance in your next relationship. The second method is that you absolutely must learn to work with your emotions. More specifically, learn to notice and identify what you're feeling. This helps you understand what you are feeling and why you are feeling it, pinpoint the causes of that emotion, and work on them. Next, you need to learn to step back from your emotions, to observe them from a distance, so to speak. This will help you avoid getting completely swept up and drowning in the emotion. Instead, you can calmly observe it and consciously choose your reaction to what's happening. And this isn't actually difficult to do. These methods, by the way, are the simplest and most effective. So take note if you're still suffering over an ex.